Good evening, my friends. Welcome to another thrilling episode of The Black Diamond. This is John Lavenia calling in live from Salt Lake City, Utah, as I usually am. And I am excited to be here with everyone for actually a very special Black Diamond, I think. We have someone who's going to be speaking with us tonight who has never spoken on the entire live call series before, and she is a very high-ranking individual, not only here in Digital Altitude, but in my book of personal assessment. I'm very fond of this individual. So before we bring her out here, though, a couple quick announcements. Actually, one, as I'm sure anyone who's been here for more than a few hours already knows, we are having on October 14 and 15, 2017, we are having our Marketing Mastery event for the closing months of 2017. That's going to be in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, and VIP tickets have already sold out. So here's the story with this, guys. This is especially for our new members. Like if you just got started today, and I know many of you did, welcome. And or if you're hearing this on the recording, on the podcast, okay, you may be hearing this after we record live right now, as it's the 21st of August right now. But the idea here is that we all get together a couple times a year, in addition to our main events, our Ascend and Peak and Apex events. We get together. This is something where people are going to be coming in from all over the world and having perhaps, in many cases, their first ever experience of Digital Altitude Live, meeting every top earner, meeting Michael Force and all the people behind the scenes who make this whole opportunity, this whole business run. And it's a gift, basically, a gift from Michael. This is an at-cost or below-cost event, and you can go ahead right now and get early bird tickets at digitalaltitude.co/MME. Again, digitalaltitude.co/MME. I'll put that link in the chat roll as well. And definitely grab yourself a seat. Grab a few seats because, as I already mentioned, VIP tickets are already sold out, and we are still almost 2 months before the event. So it's going to be big. We want to see everyone there. Be sure to check that out. And I think that's my only main announcement, except that we are well underway with our Marketing Mastery event contest as well. And people from brand new members to seasoned marketers can participate. There's prizes for all. You can check that out at digitalaltitude.co/MME contest. So check that out as well. But yeah, it is time for the Black Diamond Call. Now, for those of us who are new here, let me just say what this call is. This is something we do once a week where we kind of let our hair down and basically just tell it like it is. This call is about how we got to the top of our chosen professions. Now, all of us here on this line have something in common, and that is that we choose to be here in the top-tier direct sales world, where I've had vast experience for the last 15-plus years. Well, successfully for 15 years. Been hanging around the home business and marketing world for even longer. But yeah, we've learned a few things. Allegedly, we've learned a few things over the years, and we want to share them with you here. Okay, so my suggestion is take what you like and leave the rest. Think of it like a buffet. See how these ideas apply into your life and into your business. Okay, these ideas are for use. What you hear on these calls, this is for use. And because this is the Black Diamond, I'll give my typical disclaimer that anything I say that offends you, you'll get over it. That's just how we're going to roll. We're just going to hit it. So that being said, we have an idea, and it's one that we share with people, whether we know it or like it or not, that we share with people all the time. Yes, all the time. We are sharing an idea with people. You know, I've heard people say throughout my years in this industry and having met and counseled with people, thousands of people from around the world over the years, I've heard people sometimes say that, you know what, I like the idea of, working from home or working for myself or being an entrepreneur or getting into marketing, but I can't sell. Anybody ever heard that excuse? Anybody ever had that excuse? That's an interesting excuse. It's an interesting one. And they may go on and continue to convince or sell me the idea that they can't sell. And yet, a lot of these people are married, so they sold somebody right there. But also, a lot of people are parents, so they've got to sell their kids on, living a good and honest life. And they got to, go to, work, and they've got to sell their services to a boss if they have an employer. Ultimately, the customer, they're going to have to, sell their services to a customer. and that boss could be their customer. But all of this originates, like all of these ideas about what we can and can't do, originates in what I would call the story that they have sold themselves about themselves. This is a conversation that whether we know it or like it or not, we are in all the time. And the inner dialogue, the ideas that are going through our brains all the time about our innermost beliefs about ourselves, about our self-image, about our level of expectation, about our own performance or ability to get what we want or provide service in the marketplace or be worthy of increase in our lives, which is why I would imagine everyone has come here, because you're looking for increase, right? People don't just show up in a business because they're bored, right, on a whim. Oh, I'm looking for someone who could sell me a thing called an Apex conference ticket. Let me just go see if there's anybody who sells something like that so I can go buy it. No. People come here because there's some desire for increase. Quite often there's some sort of a deficit condition or something less than fulfilling about their current circumstances. And yet when we look at the level of thinking that has gotten us this far, we can be honest with ourselves and realize, well, it's not going to get us further, right? My best thinking got me here, but not further. And so we've got a story we tell ourselves. And as goes the inner dialogue, so goes the outer dialogue. As within, so without. Some of you have heard that before. And so what we're talking about here tonight, and the person who I think is brilliant and so equipped to steer us in the right direction on this whole idea of our own story, the ideas that we sell ourselves every day, and whether we know it or not, sell other people as well. How do we occur in the marketplace? How do we occur in our family? Or if you're working a job, how do we occur at our job? All of that stuff, believe it or not, is under your control. You are actually the cause point for all that. And again, whether we know it or like it or not. So I'll quote Henry Ford, and then I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker. Henry Ford said one of my favorite things that I've ever heard anybody say. I wish I could have been there to hear it out of his mouth personally, but I wasn't kicking around on planet Earth at that time. But he said, thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason why so few people engage in it. And that's what we're going to be doing here tonight. We're going to be thinking deliberately about who we are and how we show up in the world. And to help us with that, I've got none other than my favorite problem solver that I've ever met. This lady is as cool as a cucumber. I rarely call her with a problem because I don't have too many problems and I know lots of stuff and I can figure stuff out. But if I ever do have something that I need figured out, this is the person to get it done. And we are so blessed to have this person as the Chief Operations Officer for the entire company. Yes, I am talking about none other than the mighty Mary D. How are you, Mary D?
I am doing fantastic tonight, John. How about yourself?
I am so excited to hear about this topic with you because, my goodness, you know what, the story that you have about yourself, I would just venture is pretty rich because you are just, I just said it. You know what, Mary, there are certain people who I consider role models in different areas of life, like based on different character traits. And when it comes to being calm, cool, and collected, Mary D is my number one. So.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you. And I'm sure the community knows, and if they don't, John, you're such a huge part of what we do here. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for having me out, and thank you for your just day-to-day with coaching and leadership and all that you do. You're such an integral part of our community here, and I just appreciate you so much. So I'm glad you're here with me tonight.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, John was kind of opening the door. He actually gave away a lot of my good points, not even realizing it. But that's all good.
You can bludgeon me at the event.
No worries. I'm just going to ask everyone to excuse me initially. My voice is really starting to go. I just got back from an entrepreneurs camp that I go to every year, and we have such an amazing time. And you're in teams, and you're speaking, and you're doing all this stuff, and there's a little yelling involved. So with all the fun, I actually am starting to lose my voice. But I committed to being here for this call, and I wanted to show up and give you guys my best. So if you'll just work through a few cracks in my voice, then we'll be all right tonight. And so really just to kind of go into what, John was segueing in, So many great entrepreneurs have stories of persistence and what I like to call stickiness. They're like glue, and they stick to their business and their plan until they get what they want out of it. And really, they stick to their goals in life until they get what they want out of it. They don't give up just because, the first few steps failed or the first few, struggles came along. And I love that kind of relentlessness, because I've noticed that it's a pattern in everyone that's uber successful. This weekend, I was fortunate to connect with a gentleman named Brian Smith. Some of you may know him. He's actually the founder of UGG Boots out of Australia. And that company's gone on to do billions of dollars. They're actually about to celebrate their 40th year in business. And I don't think many people know this, but the first few years that Brian was in business, he actually lost the company completely. But at one point, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, he persisted. He stuck with it, and he actually ended getting it. He got it all back. And it's an amazing story. I'm actually going to work on having him out to one of our events this next year so that we can really talk about some more around that story. But going back to our stories, they're really birthed from perceptions. And that got me thinking about tonight's topic, which is why your story matters. So, for example, we do tell our stories all the time, as John was alluding to. And in actuality, we live inside our stories. And some of you are like, wait, what do you mean? So I'm gonna give you guys a really good example. So by the time that I was 5 years old, my parents were divorced. My mom had custody of me, and she was very sad. She'd really loved my dad, but he cheated on her, and that led to a breakdown in their marriage. And as my mom came home each night from work, her wheels would start to turn, and as she would cook dinner, she would tell me her version of a particular story. And again, this story is what she told herself about some things that transpired during that very tumultuous time. And so the story was that my parents were getting divorced, and my mom and dad were splitting up, and my dad went to the bank and cleared out my college fund account. And she would talk about how that money was set aside for me, and he just went in there and he stole it. And it was a very interesting story, and night after night, she's cooking dinner, pondering the past, getting upset, repeating the story and repeating the past of what she perceived this to be. And eventually, her story about my father cleaning out my college fund became my story. So later in life, flash forward a few years, I'm listening to one of my mentors, and he's talking about the power of objectivity. So basically, this is the art of taking yourself and your feelings out of the situation and really looking at the situation for what's happening versus what you, with all your feelings and biases, are saying are happening. So I got really objective about my perspective. And in this particular case, what I found is it allowed me to really reevaluate this story I had about my dad stealing from my college fund and the fact that it wasn't necessarily a truth. And even though I'd looked at it as a truth, it was the truth, within the circumstances when you really break it down. My parents were divorcing. Both my mom and dad were grabbing whatever assets they could as fast as they could so that the other person wouldn't end up with everything. And that was actually objectively what was happening in that situation. Sadly, it's also what happens in a lot of divorces and breakups. But I came to the realization that my dad at no point walked into the bank and announced, "Excuse me, I'd like to steal my child's college fund." If anything, he probably said, "How do I, take out some money before she does?" And unfortunately, the college fund just happened to be part of the hurricane of that situation. I had nothing to do with that story at all in that case. And so it made me realize that when parents divorce or when they go through these battles, sometimes they do tell their story about the other parent and it's negative in some way, and sometimes it's easy for kids to adopt those stories, but it's also very detrimental and hurtful, and we're really not bringing value to our kids when we do that. They're really the only ones that get hurt in the end. And so some of you may be carrying around your version of a story And that story may be self-defeating. That story may be impacting your ability to move forward in life, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your feelings and relationships. Not being a star in my mom's story really set me free because, number one, it allowed me to not think ill of my dad. It also allowed me not to allow seeds of doubt that might say something like, because of X, then Y. So because my dad stole from me, it means men are going to steal from me. There's all these little things that can come about in these ways. So I really want to encourage you guys right now to think about your stories that you tell yourself. And some of them can be, current things. Some of them can be old things. Really clean up your storybook a bit. Think about a story that you hang on to that just doesn't serve you. And now what I want you to do is I want you to rewrite that story. And when you rewrite it in a way that creates a positive and favorable outcome for yourself. And if you can't make it positive or favorable, at the very least, make it neutral. And my story is a really good example of making something neutral. So again, in my mom's story, my dad was the bad guy. In my version of that same story, after reevaluation, my dad wasn't a good or bad guy. He was just a guy getting a divorce who did what hundreds of other dads did in that situation. It was nothing against me personally. And for some of you, you're going to have a story like mine where your parents are involved, and you might actually have the opportunity to ask both parents to give you their version. And I would imagine both versions are going to be very different. My dad's not alive anymore, and I never got the chance to ask him. So the story, my newer version of that story, as I told you, is what exists for me as my new story. And to be quite frank, I never had a desire to ask him his version because I really, at the end of the day, I don't care. There's nothing that serves me as a human being that would give me any kind of joy or encouragement if I latch on to my mom's version of the story. So it's so easy for all of us to do this in our own lives and with so many parts of our lives. The things when we are comparing ourselves to others, or maybe one person, one kid on the playground said you weren't pretty enough, and you've carried that with you your whole life. For those of you who've been to conferences or hanging out with certain people, you go, oh, this person is like this, but I'm just not rich enough to do that, or I'm just not as outgoing. I'm kind of, an introvert, or, I don't have this because of that. These are some stories and perceptions and hang-ups that aren't necessarily the truth. So when we hang on to perceptions that we don't choose to change, those things end up becoming like ticks on our back. And if we don't clean them up, then it just makes more room for more ticks to come in on board. And they suck the life out of you. And we don't want that. So I guarantee that some of these stories are not serving you. They're not serving your relationships. And I really want to encourage you guys to change those stories so that you can change your outcomes. I'll give you a really, one that's really close and near and dear to my heart is actually my husband. There was once upon a time where we were dating, and in our dating phase, he wasn't a guy who said I love you a lot. It wasn't his thing. And if you've ever, if you get to know him at his core, he's actually somewhat of an introvert. He's a go-getter, and it actually bothered me for some time because he just would never really say the words, and it made me start to doubt a little bit, and it made me wonder, if he really had affections for me, because why are these words so hard to come by? And then I read this book called The 5 Love Languages, and it really gave me some insight. For those of you that are familiar with it, you'll know where I'm going. For those of you that are not, I actually encourage you to read this book. It's another really good one that just gives you some insights. And the 5 love languages talks about our different ways that we give and receive love. And so in my story of my husband who, must not love me because he can't say I love you, I actually learned to understand his love language. And when I did that, it opened up a whole new door that really freed me. So through my lesson on this book, and again, the book gives you, 5 attributes or ways that people give and receive love, what I figured out is my husband's love language wasn't words. They were actions. So they're called acts of service. And for anyone that knows my husband, you know that he is the chief engineer at our house because he cooks, he cleans, he is he's got to be the tidiest guy I know. It would be a crime to get a housekeeper because he'd be behind her with a white glove the whole time. Even at events, he comes and he helps me, and he does it for free. You know, he doesn't expect anything back, but he dives in and just takes care of things left and right, whatever needs to get done. He's the guy that if the trash can even starts to look full, it's out the door and in the trash bins. If the laundry even looks like there's about to be a load, it's in. If our house needs to be remodeled, he is all over it, and he's not pacing himself. He's not like, oh, let me just toddle around for, a couple hours a day. No, he's all in 8 to 10 hours a day, just getting it done. Whatever needs to happen, happens. Stuff doesn't stay broken around my house. The yard stays mowed, the lawn stays trimmed, the dogs stay fed, everything gets done. And there's never anything that's left hanging. There's no to-do list because it's just not worth writing one. He's doing them before they ever get done. And so it was one of those things that I had to look at and go, wow, he really loves me. I can wake up in the morning and hear, hey, honey, what do you want for breakfast? That's not an odd term, or hey, what do you want for dinner? Because he is just always on top of whatever the next thing is that needs to get done. He's retired, and he could be, sitting on the dock fishing, his days in and out or doing whatever it is he wants to do. But he chooses to tend to everything that needs to get tended to. And I used to call him the chief tender because he just loves to tend to everything that needs to get done. But that's also his very passionate and fulfilling way of showing me that he loves me. So those are the ways that I've figured out. So if he never, ever told me again, if he never said the words, if he lost his voice and his tongue and could never say I love you, I can guarantee you that I would know beyond the shadow of a doubt how much he loves me, because his love language is acts of service, and that's what he's amazing at. So I just want to share that with you guys because I think you'll find a lot of great freedom from understanding that in relationships. And again, it's about being objective, especially when things come your way, especially in your businesses. There's so many times where we all want to make the right choice and we want to do the right thing, and those things can be done. But sometimes you have to take yourself out of your situation, whether it's business or personal, and look at it with a pair of fresh eyes that aren't so close to the matter. John's always given me kudos for being so, calm and collected. And one of the reasons that I'm that way is because I've learned over time that, number one, objectivity is key to everything. Number two, part of being objective is not just knowing where you're coming from for something, but where someone else is coming from. While I was at camp, I was talking to a business owner, and we were talking through the fact that he said, Mary, I'm an A-type personality, and when I want to talk to my team, I often just, I tell them I'm very direct and straightforward, and I tell them I just want to get it done, and I want to know, how I can punish them if they don't meet deadlines on time. And I kind of laughed because I thought, well, that's an interesting way of words to put it, right? But at the same time, I said, well, if you take a step back and think of it as how can I reward people for being on time, I said, I think you might find that, more people are apt to enjoy the work and to be involved if they can be rewarded versus, what are all the bad consequences, but hey, what are the great reasons why we want to, do this on time or do this early or keep it together. And one of the things that we talked through was the fact that a lot of times one of the best ways you can actually be more effective in your story, as well as helping others through their stories, is just being a great listener. And part of being a great listener, especially when there's a situation that happens at hand, is being able to open the door for that person to actually tell their story first. So an example of that would be, you had two friends that get into a spiff, or maybe it's even in your own household, two family members that are in a spat. You, instead of going to, let's just assume it's your mom and your sister. So instead of going to your mom and saying, oh, I heard about what my sister did to you, oh, that was terrible, blah, 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 and you just kind of buy into whoever you got the story from, a better and more effective, objective way would be to say, hey, Mom, I heard you and Sis got into a fight. Can you talk to me about that? And let her tell her story. That way you'll see where she's coming from. And a lot of times in those situations, you're giving her a room and a space for trust, because rather than coming into that situation assuming that you know the story, you're letting that person tell you their version. And then the second part that a lot of times you can assist with that is, in this particular situation, obviously would also probably be to go to your sister and say, hey, sis, heard you and Mom got in a spat. Can you talk to me about that? And let her tell her version as well. And I think you'll find that a lot of times people misunderstand each other because of miscommunication. Miscommunication in the way that I thought my husband didn't care about me because he couldn't say I love you every day, in and out, often. Only to find out that, wow, he really loves me to the moon and back, because his method of communication is through acts of service. And so these are just some really great observations that you can look at in your life, in your business, in your relationships. And again, getting objective is going to be really, really key. So what I'll really tell you is that if you want to have great results in your business and your life, then just change your story. You need to keep your life filled with good and positive stories so that you can really move forward in a really great way. And John, I know that we like to allow some folks to do a little, question time. I don't know if that's questions from you or if they send those in to you, but I definitely want to give some folks an opportunity to ask any questions if they have them. And that's kind of my quick and easy share for tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you, the chat roll has just been lit up. I don't know if you're on dalivecall.com right now, but we got a lot of great commentary here already. But I'm just we're not even at the bottom of the hour yet, Mary. So we could definitely keep on rolling if you want. But I've got an idea that I wanted to bring up, and that is that obviously there are things that we may find pleasing about our story, right? About who we identify ourselves as in the world, and then there are things that we may find not as pleasing. Do you find that it's easy in some cases to compartmentalize, or you know what? Let me I'll give you my own example. So I've got obviously I've been very successful. I continue to be very successful, and I like my resolve. Right? I have resolve. I look at my own integrity. In fact, I wrote a whole book about it. So that's like something that I consider a strong suit. Okay, but we also have things that we may consider that may not be optimal, right? Like with my ability to focus and my passion for achievement, I'm also passion can go two different ways, right? It's like I'm not always calm, cool, and collected, which is probably one of the reasons why I appreciate your objectivity so much. But no, I feel like I could be like this warmongering, maniac or something sometimes in my own brain. Hopefully that doesn't come out. But
Sure.
Is it like a hot-headed Italian thing, or like what is that? But it's passion. But sometimes I feel like, well, I wouldn't want to eradicate my own passion, my own drive for the sake of being cool or something. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's great. So I think being passionate is definitely it's a core quality of certain personalities, because my husband also shares that very, very passionate personality as well, when usually when he feels very, very strongly about something, but unfortunately sometimes it's when things aren't necessarily going his way, like he's dealing with a contractor that's just not cutting the bill. And I think one of the things in that situation is, anytime I begin to start feeling that fire inside of me, the one that just really wants to kind of to come out and grab someone, I give myself a couple beats and I ask myself a couple questions. Number one, was this person's intention to hurt my feelings or offend me or, try to get under my skin? That's actually the first question I ask is, are they really trying to get under my skin for X, Y, and Z? So if that answer is yes, then it's even more important for me to stay cool and calm and collected because they are actually trying to push my button. And I don't, in that situation, want to come off of that guard because that's actually the times where some of the time, and you can gauge this for yourself, a lot of times we say things we don't mean or we really mean them and they come out really harshly. So the second question I ask myself is, where is this person at and is this really about me? Because a lot of times when a person is letting off steam or they're coming on strong, it's because other things are going on in their life. It's not necessarily because you had anything actually to do with it. You just happened to be in the path of that hurricane as it was running through, town that day. So I think a great example of that probably all of us can relate to are the people in our life who are closest to us. Oftentimes the people in our life that are closest to us have seen us kind of at our worst, but they've also seen us at our best. And so they're usually the ones that are there and available when something else is going on. So if I was really, upset about a deal that didn't get done or didn't go through or it was a bad deal and I'm stewing about that, if my husband walks in the kitchen and says something to me about maybe something that's not exactly on my mind right now and I'm just not, he's like, hey, did you make sure you mailed the taxes in? Then that just might be my opportunity to burst out and get passionate and say, I always get those done. Why are you bothering me with that? When it's one of those things where he doesn't deserve that. He's just asking me a question, but my mind is just really somewhere else on something that has nothing to do with him, and that's where that happens. So as the person, if he understands me, then he'll know that wasn't about him. But at the same time, as someone about to make the outburst, that's where I've got to say, I got to put my feelings in check and be the big enough person to go back and go, oh, you know what, I had something totally else on my mind just then, and I'm sorry, I directed that at you. Really, it didn't have anything to do with you. And I think that's helpful as well. So those are kind of the two I ask. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but those are kind of the screens that I do for myself when I'm feeling a little fiery. Obviously, I don't have that same trait in general. That's not my MO, so I can't speak to it quite as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a big one, John. If something if something is important to you, then of course you're going to be passionate about it. And I think just kind of knowing where the other person's coming from, and then also just being really aware of why you're feeling the way you are is always going to benefit you.
Yeah, it all comes back to objectivity. I'm glad you used that word. And of course, we have, I would say, throughout society, we have people, some are more thoughtful than others. They've got a bit more of an objective view. But I know from being in sales for decades that people, they tend to operate based on emotion. And then, of course, they back up their decisions, whether it's a buying decision or, as it relates to marketing, they'll back up their decisions with logic, right? Here's what justifies that decision. But the decision was made based on emotion. In fact, Mary, when I was newer in sales, I remember going and getting a job, and I had an interview with the general manager of this organization that I was looking to get a job at. And he sat me down and he said, okay, so you want to be in sales? And he said, and I had done some study, by the way, up to this point. I didn't just, fall off the turnip truck or something. I already knew about sales. But he said, so when people buy, do they buy based on logic or emotion? And I said, emotion. And he said, what percentage of the time? I said, 100. And he said, you're hired. That's it. You're hired. So, and so that's something that I have, and I've noticed about myself. Oh, I like that. I like that car. Well, why do you like the car? Well, it's got this feature and that engine and this, paint and all the, the quantities and features that we could talk about. But the real reason I like the car is because it looks cool. I think I'm going to look cool in it. It matches up with my story, right? And a lot of people will happily admit that, yeah, my choice of, vehicle is an extension of the personality that I seek to portray in the world. Otherwise, we would all drive, I don't know, whatever's the most, efficient, or I don't know, we'll be all in hybrid little boxes, driving around.
Right.
Right. But right here, like with DA, we celebrate, achievement and the fine craftsmanship of companies like BMW. I know Michael wants to buy everybody a car, and he's buying cars for people right now with the, the incentive program. By the way, for our new members, you'll learn about that when you get to step 11. It's a really fun step. But this is unapologetically, this is who we are, and why not? And why not us? So I love this message here tonight, and if we can be deliberate about it, which is something that, as you know, Mary, because you know me, I've been working on for decades, being more deliberate about who I am, how I think, how I present myself to the world, and how I present myself to myself, which there's no fake in that, right? We hear fake it till you make it. I don't know about that. I don't know about fake it till you make it. I know about, do some work on yourself and, like learn some stuff, and then you won't have to fake it anymore. And I think to an extent, we've got people all throughout the community who are also on that same path. We had some people chuckling in the chat roll there while you were talking about me, because I'm known to many people as the Godzilla of personal development, and it's because of that passion, right? So I have no problem screaming into a microphone, kicking over a podium or something. I have no problem doing that, but we got to get a message through.
Right. Funny. Yeah, no, I mean, that is totally true, John. And one of the things that, well, at least that I find that makes you so great is you are super genuine, and you are, people can expect the truth from you. And I think that there's a ton of value in that. And since you're speaking about new people and the whole fake it till you make it, I really just abhor that term, because in our world, it's not necessary. We've really set up our members for success here, and that's the beauty of the system, is the fact that, the training that you get here, you've got coaches that have tons of experience and have been in the digital marketing space. You have affiliates who have a ton of experience and have had a lot of success in this space, and you can use their stories. So if you're brand new to this, then you don't feel like you need to suddenly be positioned as the expert. You can take all that pressure, just take it off. And that pressure you can put over to, no, but have you heard about Alex Zubarov? Have you heard about Jason Stone? Have you heard about John Lavinia? And you can tell their story. So this is actually another context of story, but there's a lot of truth to it, in that you can utilize someone else's story to help fill in those gaps while you're creating your own story of success here with whatever it is that you plan to do with your membership, whether it's becoming a Digital Altitude affiliate or, going out into the world and touting your own products and services. Yeah,
very good. I know we got a couple of people working on their own books now. So that's something that clearly you're putting yourself out there. And every marketing action we take, we're putting ourselves out there, right? If you want to inflow the leads and sales and money, right? We're talking about currency here, the current, right? So if you want current to flow in, you got to flow current out. And part of that, of course, is the value that you present to the world yourself through your story and through your ability to communicate and induce hope in others, right? Because a lot of people right now, they're working jobs right now. They don't even know we exist. But for your advertisement or your post on Facebook or whatever you, the listener, that right now you're thinking about putting yourself out there, that could be exactly the catalyst that someone needs to get on board and to start taking back control of their own experience, their own immediate financial future. So it's a beautiful thing. Mary, here's what we're going to do. We're going to open this up for Q&A and commentary. So stand by, everybody. We will do that right now. All right, so if you are joining us live, you can go ahead and raise your hand. There is a button to do that on the free conference call app. Or if you're tuned in with a phone or Skype, the command is *6. That will raise your hand, and then I think you have to press 1 to confirm. And then you will be in the queue. So right now we've got Mary D., Chief Operations Officer of the most spectacular top-tier direct sales company in existence or has ever existed. So there you go. You've got a direct line to corporate right now. Great topic for us to bring up, or if you've got some questions for Mary, let's go ahead and get your hands raised now. Who would like to be first? I'm not seeing anybody in queue. Let's go ahead and get this queue going. And we do see, oh, I just had a caller and they vanished. Okay, so let's go ahead and get
feet, John. They got cold feet. He said they got cold feet. They got cold feet. Don't get cold feet. Come on out. There no question's a bad question.
Okay, here we go. So we've got a couple people in queue now. We're going to start with Glenn, live from Scotland. Glenn, you're live on the air.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Mary.
It's actually night over here. What time is it there in Scotland?
The current time is 2:41 a.m.
Oh, well, good morning, sir. Good morning.
And a fine, Bonnie, good morning to everybody. Mary, just a couple of things quickly. First of all, I am very much looking forward to meeting you in Las Vegas. You know I'll be there.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah, and the other thing, not a question so much as a comment. I was absolutely powerfully inspired tonight. Oh, sorry, this morning, listening to you talk and share your perspective on creating our own story. It's absolutely brilliant to know that, hey, you know what? I get to write my own story. And the fact that speaking generically, of course, the fact that once I turn 18, I no longer get to blame mom or dad or anybody else for something that happened in my past and no longer serves me, that's actually good news because I get to shape my own story now. It's marvelously liberating to hear you share that. It's meant, oh, and by the way, I absolutely intend to steal this concept and talk about it on my blog.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that, Glenn. I'm glad it resonated. And like I said, I was one of those people who literally, I'm listening to a mentor talk, and suddenly I was like, yeah, let me get really objective about this, and let me just pull this one out. And I went, wow. This story doesn't have to have a bad ending. It doesn't have to be negative. Like, I have control over what I think the story is. And a lot of people, don't realize that. So absolutely, that's awesome. I hope you blog away about it.
John knows a little bit about my story, and as more and more people will hear all of the steps and starts and stops and stumbles and paths of my story have led me to digital altitude, and I'm absolutely thrilled beyond belief to be here. And once again, I'm looking forward to meeting you and seeing everyone else in Las Vegas. Thanks very much, and back to you, John.
Awesome stuff. And Glenn, I didn't realize you were just turning 18. I did not know that. That was a joke. Glenn's already muted. I think he already muted himself, but he made a comment about turning 18. All right, let's go to our next caller here, who is, I think, Joseph. Joseph, you're live on the air.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And my question is, I had some technical difficulties and joined with audio in the last 35 minutes, not the whole 47. And been following the thread online, and today's my first dial-in. My question, after starting with the program today, is the objection a marketing infomercial, or am I going to be writing the story as an actual author with a ebook?
I'm sorry, real quick, what was your name?
My name's Frances.
Francis? Okay, Francis,
Yeah.
I have you here on my console as Joseph. Perhaps that's your husband. Okay, so Francis, you're asking if your story. I'm sorry. Could you rephrase the question, or did you understand the question?
Yeah, no, I got that. So Francis, first of all, welcome aboard. We're really glad to have you here. And since this is your very first call, what will be awesome is for you to know that all of these calls, even the ones that preceded your membership, you can actually go to dalivecall.com and you can get a hold of the recordings. So it may be beneficial for you to just go back and listen to the beginning. This particular call, we were talking about the stories we tell ourselves. So in application to what you're going through with the actual course, I'll say stick with your coach, because they will actually work with you to decide which path you want to take on your online marketing journey. So there's a lot of options there. It'd be another hour for me to talk through that with us on the call tonight. But if you'll just stick with your coach, they will be able to answer those kinds of questions for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Francis. Welcome. Welcome to the Clean team. Glad you're here. And with that, we're going to go to our next caller, which is Chris. Chris, you're live on the air.
Hey, John, you hear me?
We can, yes.
Hi, John. Hi, Mary Jane. Chris Furnimer from Rhode Island.
Chris!
How you doing?
One of my favorite people. I'm great. Glad to have you on tonight.
I had to jump on because you're one of our favorite people in DA, and we always look forward to seeing you and Bobby at events. Matter of fact, our boys still talk about meeting Bobby in Hawaii to this day. So I just wanted to share that with you in case we don't get an opportunity to connect in Vegas. But, you know, for all the listeners out there, you definitely need to get to Vegas to meet Mary D, if nothing else, because she is awesome, and we're lucky to have her part of the team, as well as John.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'll have to make it a point to seek you out and give you a hug amongst the 1,000 people that will be there, Chris. We're gonna make it happen.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to it.
I love it. I love it.
All right.
Please do.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing tonight. It was awesome to hear you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks, Chris. And you know what, Mary, as our events grow, and I'm certain that this is going to be our biggest event yet, it gets more and more challenging to do what I choose to do at every event, is shake every hand. I want to meet every single person, and because that's also part of the story, right? Because I know when I showed up originally in in business or like conventions and such, people there's like little cliques, and I don't know if they'll say hi to me, I'm the new guy or something, and so I make it a point to go out and meet the newest people I possibly can. In fact, remember, Mary, at the last Marketing Mastery event, I asked, for the newest members in the room, and we had like 2 people that were in their first week. They had just signed up, and I brought them up onto the stage. Remember that?
I do, and I'm telling you, it's so amazing that the people that take action, and I laugh because I'm like, what a fantastic story. I know when I first got started in my first online business, my mentor said to me, look, I want to set you up for success, but you've got to show up. And he was like, be on every call. When you get a chance to give a testimony, give a testimony. When you get a chance to ask a good question that you know is going to help other people that you had, ask the question. And when there's events, show up and meet people and connect. And that was some of the best advice that he could have given me, and I was super trainable and teachable because I wanted to be successful like him. And I showed up and I participated in everything, and that was really a huge launch pad for my success that I've had in the industry. And man, now I've been here for 17 years, and I'm just like, wow, this is a life that I could have never imagined for myself, John. And it's one of those things that I look back and I reflect on, and I'm like, wow, God had such a bigger vision and purpose for my life than I ever could have dreamed up. And that's when I go, and even now I'm like, wow, that was 17 years ago that this journey started, and I'm still on an amazing journey. It hasn't stopped being amazing, and I just live in this constant state of gratitude. But again, I was really teachable and really trainable, and I was really open-minded, and I said, you know what, I know I deserve great and good things, and I'm just going to open up myself to the relationships and the people and the opportunities that seem to be going in the direction of my dreams. And here we are. I'm dreaming away on a great call like this with an awesome host like you.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you. And we are going to go to our next caller now. Let's see here. We do have Brian. Brian in Houston. You're live on the air.
Hi, Mary. Hi, John. My question was, I was reading something out of the Cash Flow Quadrant book, and it is in Chapter 8 under Emotional Intelligence. And one paragraph says, when it comes to risking money, we all experience fear, even the rich. The difference is how we handle that fear. And now, Mary, I know you mentioned something earlier about your husband being a bit of an introvert. Do you think that you have sort of a perception towards introverts at events? And do you see how they handle the fear, if they have any, about being at events and perhaps being themselves? And could they use that as a means to build their story?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that is an excellent, excellent question. So just to summarize, what he's asking me is, how can introverts use events as part of their story? And there's so much to that, and I'd say that for a lot of introverts, going to events where they don't know anyone is certainly putting themselves in the eyesight of fear. Because, again, you're not necessarily a social butterfly, so you may not believe you're the person that's going to go around and shake everybody's hand and dance on the stage or be overly social. So the beauty of events is that we actually create a space for you all to be able to interact with each other, for you to be able to interact with all of us. And we make those opportunities readily available, whether it's through a little team building activity or a little networking activity. So for introverts, I'm going to really encourage you to just get yourself a little uncomfortable, because the only way you're going to grow is to get a little uncomfortable. So, but I guarantee you that at the same time, when you get a little uncomfortable and you actually move forward and you show up and you do shake some hands and you do high five some people you don't know and you do introduce yourself, or you do make yourself open to someone that's coming to introduce themselves to you, that's one of the greatest spaces you can be in, because everything you want is on the other side of fear. I know you guys have probably heard that before, but it is so, so true. So even if you got to remember, the people in the room don't necessarily know you. So when you step into that room, you can actually be anyone you want to be. So I would encourage you guys that are going to step out of that and go, you know what, I'm not going to play the introvert card this weekend. I came to get success. I came to get tips. I came to figure out how I can, make the money that I desire to make, have the lifestyle I desire to have. And in order to do that, it just means you're going to have to step into a little bit of that discomfort zone. But the more you do it, I guarantee you'll make some valuable connections. You never know who you'll sit down and share a meal with, share a quick story with, share a high five with. That could be someone that's integral to you getting what you want out of this. And so I would certainly say that is an amazing part of what can be your story. Because then now when you move on in your success and you get those tidbits of greatness and you have those pivots in your business and your life, you can go back one day beyond this Black Diamond call, beyond here, telling other introverts why they need to get to an event, why they need to step out of their comfort zone so that they can also reach forward and get on the other side of fear, because that's where all the things that you want are. So you just remember, it's your story is a great way of also learning how to pay it forward. And paying it forward is going through some of those things that you might consider an adversity. And I'd leave you with this. If you put yourself in an amazing place of gratitude, to remember that there are people in the world who literally don't have a voice. They don't know how to talk. They can't speak. Maybe they were birthed that way. Maybe they had the onset of some disease or, neurological issue that cut their voice off. You have the ability to show up with a voice and a mouth and legs and arms to reach out and hug people and touch people and shake hands or share a meal. So when you have the opportunity to do that, I would live in a really big place of gratitude and just come ready to give to people as much as to receive. And I think you'll find that it will create an amazing story for all introverts, and a way to kind of step out of their shell a little bit. Because at the end of the day, we all seek, the human element. We seek to connect. And I think you'll find that that's a very common thread within the community of Digital Altitude. And if we all come with that same mindset that, hey, I'm going to shake hands, I'm going to meet some people, and I'm going to step into every activity we do, then I think you'll come and you'll get the most out of it. John, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, awesome stuff, Mary. Well said. I will just let you know, and I'll let Brian know as well, that my professional training was as a mechanic. Like out of high school, I went to diesel college, and I learned how to be an engineer on a tugboat fleet in New York Harbor, and I worked on trucks and cars and all this. Those were things that I could do to earn a living where I didn't have to communicate with people. I had a troubled youth situation in my life, and so here I am, author, speaker, coach, marketing mentor, all this kind of stuff. That was deliberate evolution, and to this day, it's not like I'm Mr. Bubbly or something. You know what, Mary? I don't, believe it or not, I don't go to mixers and hand out my business cards. In fact, I don't have a business card. Last time I had a business card was probably 20 years ago. My goodness. Yeah. However, when it's something on purpose, and Brian, you may find this useful, is that if we've got a purpose for interacting with people, well, then we do that, right? Whether you're socially considering yourself an introvert or not, which is just another part of the story, right? Which is what Mary was talking about tonight, was that story that we sell ourselves and ultimately everybody else. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to meet you, Brian. That's Brian in Houston, ladies and gentlemen. Meet him live in, where are we going again? Las Vegas. Good stuff. Well, I look forward to seeing you there. All right, so we've got a couple minutes left. And so we're going to take another couple of callers, and then we're going to wrap it up. So let's see. Thanks again, Brian. Our next caller is from the 574 area code, but I don't know your name. Who is this?
This is Tammy.
Hey, Tammy, where are you from?
I'm from Elkhart, Indiana.
All right, Tammy in Indiana, you're live on the air.
Yeah, I was just not really sure. I mean, I have just been looking for something that I can do on my own. I'm really brand new, and this is the first live call that I've made. But one of the things that my coach had said is like that if I wasn't able to upgrade today, then I couldn't be a part of something, and I don't understand what it is. And I guess I'm just not familiar enough with it, and so I'm trying to figure out, because a lot of things have fallen through. I've been working tirelessly the entire weekend to figure out the training and to be on calls and going through Robert Kiyosaki's book again, and so I've been working really hard, but I just haven't been able to come up with the money today. So far, I still haven't given up, but so I'm just not sure what I should do.
Okay, well, Tammy, I'll take this one. Mary, Mary, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder if she's talking about the price increases, because that's the only thing I can think of that would be, a missed opportunity.
Well, it said something about that. I couldn't be part of the inner circle or whatever. I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, Tammy, it sounds like you've got some confusion about that because you're obviously inside Digital Altitude right now. So let's go ahead and get you back in touch with your coach. Okay, you've got coach contact details right inside your Aspire business system, and get any confusion cleared up, because I can tell you that confusion is not what you want. It's certainly not what we want for you. And certainty sells, right? So we want you to get some certainty about where you're going, what you need to do, and there are a variety of paths that you could take. Be sure to get a clear understanding from your coach about the different options that are available to you here, but we've got an opportunity for you, no problem. So you are here, and thank you for coming out and speaking up. Definitely get back with your coach. That would be the most direct route to gaining some understanding and clearing up this confusion, okay? Okay, Tammy, thank you for jumping out here. I look forward to hearing a lot more from you on these calls as well. Welcome to Digital Altitude. We're glad you're here. And we're just going to knock out a couple more callers here. And let's see, it's either Patrick or Patricia. You're live on the air. Who's this?
Hey, this is Patrick Anderson, and people used to bully me when I was younger. They'd call me, other guys and girls would call me Patricia.
Oh, okay. Well, I got
okay.
your caller ID here, Patrick. It says Anderson Patrick, and that's it. So I didn't know.
Yeah, my name is Patrick with a CK. So
cool.
Nice. Yeah, I'm from northern Minnesota. Thank you so much, John and Mary. I want to say that, I've been listening. This is my first live call that I've listened to, and it's pretty awesome that I got on. I kind of had to just amp myself up a little bit and get on here and just make myself known a little bit. But I just, I just recently started Digital Altitude, and I've had, even when Brian was talking, he mentioned the the fear of investment, and that's always been one of my fears. Starting out at the Rise level, I think it was a big jump for me. But when I had talked with my coach, and I had Ty Coughlin, and he's such a great coach, by the way. I just want to mention that he was able to just kind of guide me in a way where it would show me that I need to set myself at a high position for that. I have a lot of debt to pay back from school and whatnot like that. But you know what? I have gratitude that it almost feels like a dream to me that this kind of program is out here. I've been obsessing over over digital marketing the past 5 months, just looking very in depth, in which programs to get into, whether it's 4% Group or Calo Cane or some of these other organizations. I wasn't really looking for a system, and I kept hitting a dead halt at things. And just recently with DA, I went in and I got I applied for a loan and everything, and I'm just waiting for that right now. I haven't made any money, and I'm excited to get on to the Ascendant Peak. So I'm going to the top there, and I'm just I'm excited. I show gratitude, and I'm just hopefully things will start to look up for me. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, So.
Awesome. Well, Patrick, it sounds like you're doing all the right things. What I used to always tell myself is I am never going to regret an investment in myself. And if something is getting me or moving me towards the direction of my dreams, then it's the right decision. And so I applaud you for making so many moves to put yourself in a great position. And the other thing is, I want you to remember that we'd like you guys to go through all of the training, all of it, before you start really jumping in as affiliate. We really want to arm you with all the tools, all the good shortcuts, and then also all the things not to do before you get out there. But at the same time, we know we've got some great converting offers. You guys have got 7 different funnels you can pick from, along with, again, if you've got Ty as a coach, you're in super great hands. And hopefully you have gotten or are getting your ticket for Vegas, and we'll get to see you there live in October.
Yeah, I mean, right now that's what's kind of difficult for me right now. I've just been working honestly I even moved up. I had to move back to my parents' place up north in Minnesota here, and I just kind of am leaning on this my bank account is not looking good at all right now. So I just feel like I've just been kind of drowning over the past couple months. It's been really difficult for me. To even get a ticket to go to Vegas right now, it's looking difficult. I want to so bad, but once I'm able to get this loan and get this stuff taken care of, then I can look into that closer. But I'm just trying to, I got to get back on my feet right now, so.
Yeah, well, Patrick, I'll jump in here real quick. I can tell you that you have, you're plugged in, and you have every reason to be in Vegas. And my goodness, you can grab a ticket right now for $97. You can go borrow $1 from 97 people and have the money, and but definitely as part of the story, get that ticket, and I will just offer you this as a coach. Actually, as I was Ty's coach back in 2002. Yeah, don't talk about I haven't made money or I lack or any of that kind of stuff. That's all part of the story, like Mary was talking about tonight. So, all right, so that's all in the past. Okay, you may have lacked money. That was in the past. That was 5 minutes ago. Okay, that's not now. It's not now. Okay, so consider that. Who is the Patrick that's going to be showing up in Vegas in less than 2 months? That's the guy. Put that guy into the marketplace and watch people follow, man. This is it. People follow you because of where you're going. So know where you're going. That's the first part of it. So I hope that helps you out, buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was going to say,
I appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Patrick, hopefully, I don't know if you know this, but if you are a RISE member, when you buy your general admission ticket, we actually will give it right back to you as long as you show up for the event. So when you show up for registration, we actually refund that back to you. So your ticket really is essentially free. Right now, we just want you to put it in as a placeholder so we know that you're definitely showing up. So, I encourage you, my friend, half the battle is just showing up. The success is 90% showing up. So I just really want to encourage you, and like I said, sounds like you're trying to have a really great attitude, and again, just stay in that moment of gratitude, and just remember this is part of your journey and part of your story, and it can be whatever story you want it to be, but you just got to stick with it, and I think you've got some great people surrounding you that are ready to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mary.
Great stuff, Patrick. We are running a little bit over time. We've got just a couple of callers left in queue. We're going to have to run through it quick. So let's see. Ricky, you're live on the air. Ricky. Hello, Ricky.
Ricky's playing us a tune, apparently.
Okay. So we'll go to our final caller in queue, which is Llewellyn. Llewellyn, you're live on the air.
Hi, John. Good morning.
Good morning. You're over there in South Africa, yeah?
That's correct, yes.
Awesome.
Hi, good morning, Mary. Also, thank you for an awesome speech that you gave. But why I want to ask, or why I want to say something is, I just want to tell Tammy, just hang in there. I can feel you. I know what you're going through. Also, Patrick, our currency is the worst in the world. So never think that you're not going to make it. As I'm sitting here, I bought my ticket. I don't know how I'm going to Las Vegas, with what money, but all I know, I'm going there. And that is all because of the law of attraction, and I'm attracting only that I want. And I want to go to Las Vegas, so that's where I'm going. And I'm going to upgrade this week to Ascend, and I'm going to upgrade to Ascend. So it's all about the mindset. I know you feel anxious, you feel worried, you feel a lot of stuff. I went through it all, and I know what it takes to take the next step, and I can promise you everything will be okay. If you put your mind to it, you will go through it. Thank you, John.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Llewellyn. Isn't that great? So here we got Llewellyn coming from the other side of the planet to Vegas. By the way, everybody, Vegas is cheap to get to. They I don't know if the casinos subsidize the plane tickets or what, but they want you in Vegas. No question about that. Between the cheap plane tickets and the $8.95 all-you-can-eat lobster buffet, I mean, yeah, Vegas is cheap. So Of course, we're going to a fine resort because Mary and Michael pick out the best resorts. Mary, tell us a little bit about that before we wrap up.
Absolutely. So we are at the beautiful Green Valley Resort. Green Valley is kind of self-contained. It literally has a cinema and a bowling alley, about an entire mall of shopping inside and out. It's also got lots of food choices. I really, really understand that some of you are on a tight budget. Others of you just are, have special eating requirements, and Green Valley has got a little bit of something for everyone. So there's, $5 salads, there's, $200 steaks. It just depends on what you want. There's also even a kids club. So if you've got kids that are smaller that you're like, I really want to go to the conference, but I've got my kids, I need to bring them. There is a kids club. You can actually just call directly to the hotel and they'll tell you all about kids club. You can make a reservation. And then of course we've got this amazing event that we're putting on, just connecting, seeing all of you. We're going to, again, create a magnificent space for you guys to learn and grow and really leave just fired up and ready to rock the digital marketing space. So Green Valley is fantastic. We've got a great rate for you also. It's $175 a night, and you can't find that rate anywhere else, so that you guys know that's a special rate just for our group, but it's only good through September 20th. And there are also some additional hotel options. There's some places that are close by that are even, have a smaller price point if that's too tight for your budget. I'm going to encourage you guys to consider, if you're like, I need to get there, this is what I have, you could always get a roommate. There's always that option too. You got a lot of time to vet out a roommate if you need to. I know that a lot of people will do that as well. And Ubering between those alternate hotels and Green Valley is close. However, being at the host hotel is where it's at. I will tell you that. I've been to hundreds of events, guys, from when I was just getting started and started with my conservative means all the way through now. I always stay at the hotel if I can, because that's where everybody's at. And it's about staying up, making those connections. And it's not just about what you learn at the conference. I think that's the biggest thing you should know. It's never about just what we're bringing you at the conference, because we are going to bring you some amazing stuff, but it is the people you will meet, the people you'll share a meal with, the people you'll share ideas with. And your $1 million idea could be planted in the room of somebody. Somebody in that room has an idea that's going to resonate with you, or they have a strategy that's going to resonate with you. They have an answer that you're looking for, and that's your opportunity to go and get it. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in Las Vegas. And John, thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Oh, absolute pleasure. With that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up Q&A here. All right. Once again, Mary D., thank you for participating here with us on our DA Live Call series and on this Black Diamond episode. Guys, definitely share this episode with your team members. It'll be posted on the podcast here tonight. So looking forward to seeing all of you in Vegas in less than 2 months. Mary, thanks again, my friend.
Thanks, John. You're the best.
All right. See you all soon.
Good night, guys.
Bye for now. Good night.